It's cold, it's chilled, it's angry, it wants to grow, and hopefully this could look awesome by the end.
Buongiorno, we are looking at how to pronounce with a typical Italian. How do you go about pronouncing it? In Italy, in Italian, it is normally said as panettone, panettone, panettone.
Panettone is what I want to call it, panettone. Hello everybody, I hope you're well. Weird intro there, sorry. Today we are making panettone, an Italian dessert, a baked, good, airy, fruity tower stack thing. Oh! Should we get started right now? In this bowl right here is a selection of dried fruits. We have got some cherries, some sweetened cherries that are in large chunks. We've got some citrus peel, mix of orange peel and lemon peel, and some extra dried fruits. Sultanas, raisins, cranberries, you name it, all that stuff in there. I got that together on a chopping board just a moment ago, roughly like hacked it up with a knife, pushed it into the bowl as best I could, but of course there was a spillage. And you are left with this gorgeous multicolored dried fruit sensation of sweetness, which is really, really tempting to peck on. Now it's this which is gonna be the body to our panettone.
Panettone.
I'm probably still not doing it right. This is some orange juice. Now this is my first time making one of these, but what happens is normally it'll be alcohol and it soaks into the fruit and makes it plump. You leave it out overnight, not in a fridge, just in the air, just for it to absorb all of that in there. So we're going for fruit juice only because my kids like it. I mean, I hope they haven't tried rum or Cointreau, but there's normally alcohol that goes in here. And even if the alcohol content bakes off, I'll let you guys argue that out in the comments if you want. What I want is that flavor in there, and for them to taste it, they're like, ooh, I can't taste rum, Daddy, not like my last party I went to. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm just tamping that down, trying to get it soaked as much as possible. You can see the color that it's changed, the orange juice already. We don't need this juice at the end, so tomorrow I could have a very sweet drink if I want. I've been calling it panettone in my head all morning. Panettone, panettone. Right, cover that. All right, there we go. So my initial thought was wanting to put it in the fridge, but apparently that will have the reverse effect. We want it to absorb at room temperature overnight, and I wonder how much of that fluid will be left when we look at it in the morning. So I'm sitting in my office in a dark place next to some out-of-date hot dog flavour crisps. Of course. All right, so with the fruit in its bubble bath doing its thing, we can just leave that and start to think about the dough. Now the dough for a panettone is a lot like a brioche. It's airy and light and fluffy, and the fruit that we've got going in there soaking is gonna really pass through that and just make it, it's almost like terrible. I've only had like two in my life and I blooming love. One was in Italy and one was from a local supermarket, and blooming gorgeous things. Oh. So I'm really looking forward to this today. The only downside is I've ordered one of these. This is like a round tin. I searched it on Amazon, which is actually perfect for panettone. It's like a tall cylinder thing and you just butter it. But then I thought, oh, you're not gonna get that rounded top on it, which I've had, and you see traditionally, I've ordered some of these. Now the tin doesn't come until Friday, but these are supposed to come at some stage today. These are paper molds, okay? Imagine like a cupcake liner. You've probably seen one of these panettones where you have that on there and it gets that sort of mushroom lid on it. That is what I really want to do. And it bakes in that, which is amazing. But first of all, we need to make the dough, make it an overnight chill proof to really develop those flavors. Thank you, Amy. What is it, a bird? Seen a bird? Have you seen a bird? Brilliant, seen a bird. It's only when you make something homemade that you sometimes realize how healthy, or in most cases with bake things, unhealthy they can be. Like when you make a cake, you're like, oh, it's so light and fluffy, that sponge, and you forget that you put like a ton of sugar in it and butter. And it's basically quite similar with this dough. So for example, we have got butter. That is 250 grams of butter going into this dough with 6 eggs. Now down there we've also got a pinch of salt. I decided to put that in a little bowl, but it is literally a pinch. We've got our sugar, which to be fair isn't that amount, but there's probably quite a lot of natural sugar in that mountain of fruit submerged in the orange juice. We've got some yeast, which is going to partner up with the milk, or most of the milk. We'll have a little bit reserved to one side right here. Cha-ching. We're going to get the warm milk together and the yeast going to get it. And it's probably the first thing we do. We've also got some flour. Now that is strong bread flour, which I've used in the past. Works really well with baking stuff in general. But if you can't use that, plain flour, not self-raising, would probably suffice. I'm just saying, if you put self-raising flour in with the dough, I mean, it's just going to like fall out of your fridge. It's going to go crazy. The milk, as I say, has been divided. We've got a little bit to one side, but this is going to be warmed up in the microwave to help our yeast, okay? So don't get it boiling and bubbling, just get it nice and warm. 2 30-second blasts. After 30 seconds, give it a stir, because you'll find that the outside or the surface area of the milk at the top will be warm and then the middle will be Baltic cold. So stir it around to get a nice even temperature. Otherwise your yeast will be like, All right. This is what Antarctica's like. Yeah, don't make it boil. Someone once told me that on a comment, that can also kill the yeast. It might not be true, but I believe everything you guys tell me, so thanks. And we're also going to add the sugar in now. If we leave it for a good few minutes, this should actually get quite bubbly. All right, folks? So just wait. Have a little break. Have a coffee break, all right? My biggest concern is if those paper molds actually arrive. I've got a better check, actually. Ooh. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but it does say arriving today, on the way, along with some dog food and some other dog food where the delivery date is pending. That's their favourite one, the gutted.
Panettone.
Tony.
Panettone.
Wow! Look at this thing! That smells so beery and yeasty. I'm going to let that foam up a little bit more, but that yeast has really done its job. Alright, this is where apparently a stand mixer would be amazing, but I kind of like my semi-stand mixer with the dough hooks on. Either that, you have to go old school with a wooden spoon, I'm afraid. We've got our flour, the salt, which we're going to put in one little corner here, and the yeast in. And I'm going to slowly add it in like quarters. There we go. So that's not going to do much more than that. It's got quite clumpy, but now we can add in the eggs, and this should make it a lot more different in texture. And apparently we can add them all in one go. We've got one egg left and a bit of milk for egg washing, but that'll be for tomorrow. And let's just get these in. All right, way happy with that. I mean, look how sticky that is. And apparently our last thing that goes in are the lumps of butter. So we're going to do this in batches. Right, I know that's not fully gone, but I'm just doing it till it's sort of like gone through the car wash, so to speak. So what happens now is we get a dish like this, and it's going to chill overnight in this nice big flat one for it to spread around in. Hopefully it won't come up too much. I did read some horror stories about people that had done that. Like, oh my gosh! Is now our new pet. I've got a third pug called Doe. So now, apparently, what's best to do is to not even push it out, but to let it sort of find its own way to keep as much air in it as possible. I've never done this before. This is different. It's taking quite a while. My battery on my camera is about... That is all done, my friends. And if it does not rise, I'm going to be very surprised. Fingers crossed these paper molds arrive. I've got a lot of washing up to do. So barring any errors or crazy stuff happening, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Good morning, folks. Hope you slept well. I've got my Back to the Future slippers on, ready to tackle day 2. Let's check on Tony. So it's risen slightly more, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Oh, wow. Now, a little bit of bad news. It turns out my cases are actually quite small, so I might have enough dough to make 2. We'll put one lot in and see what happens. So what I will do, I'm going to grease this with a little bit of the butter we had left over on the bottom and the sides, but first we need to get our fruit in there. Speaking of which, I think some of the sugar content's gone into the orange juice. We'll drain this off now, but that is actually a lot thicker. Wow, most of that juice is gone, hasn't it? Ah, oh, I can almost see like the stretchy, airy fibres in it anyway. That smells pretty weird. It smells a bit like an omelette made out of beer, so we'll just give it a bit of a roll. Apparently we go into a sort of rectangle shape. Yeah, I mean that is quite a lot, isn't it, Tony? Oh my gosh, that is so soft and fruity. And that moisture, which as I say, could have been alcohol, is just gonna seep that flavour through as it bakes. Oh. Now overnight, once I tweeted that I was doing this recipe, people were like, you are doing it with chocolate chips, right? Fruit is so bland. Well, here we go. I wanted to keep it classic, but once you're at this stage, obviously you don't need to soak chocolate chips. You can add a few in there. So yes, although I'm not putting nuts in it, I will add some chocolate chips in, okay? And now all we do is shimmy the fruit on. I think a little bit just went off the side on the floor. Gently roll it with my rolling pin to just let it try and bite to the dough and stick in there a little bit, just a little bit. But I'm gonna fold it all in so that the fruit is kind of encased. And they're like, hey, what filling? There's nothing there. So this is where we're gonna need to bring this all together. But I can see already that's getting like a really nice sort of randomized layout there like that. Oh, and it's enormous. I'm really happy with that. So in here is 2/3 of the mix. And if you can see, if I hold it sort of levelish like that, there's a good old gap for it to rise, and that's exactly what we've got to do it now. Put it into a warm place for it to prove, and you want to apparently try and make it hit at least the top edge of this, which can take anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. I really have no idea what this yeast is going to do. It's cold, it's chilled, it's angry, it wants to grow, and hopefully this could look awesome by the end. So we really need to give it that time. And this is one of the warmest parts in our house, right by our boiler. So if it's going to get warm and proved, this is the best place for it. We need to remember what that looks like, okay? And we'll come back in about 40 minutes. Now, if you haven't guessed, I'm quite an inquisitive chap, and this is some leftover dough I've got in another grease mold, and this is topped with cling film. Because in my oven, I've got a setting, a proving setting, okay? So it's really cold. I mean, I think it's about 35 degrees. You can put your hand in there. It's not that bad, but it kind of replicates a warm area, which is where we put the main dough by the boiler in the house. So I've no idea what's going to happen to that. It tells me in the manual for the oven to put cling film on when I'm proving, otherwise you get like a dry crust on the top when it's doing that. So I don't fancy that, but it's going to be really interesting to see what that does versus out there. I know it's a different amount of dough, but I just wanted to experiment. So we'll see what happens. It's a perfect time for me right now to go and walk my dogs. In fact, they look really enthusiastic. But before I do, for some energy, you're damn right I'm going to try that orange juice that's been soaked in mixed fruit overnight. Oh! I'm not going to say what I want to say. I just want to show you, this is quite cool, the oven proving mode. Like, look how much that's risen. That's actually amazing considering, I think it's actually doubled in height. So, yeah, fair play, oven mode. The other one, also covered with a cloth. Look at that. So it is over the edge and slightly rounded. I feel like I'm going to go for it from here. I don't, I've got, part of me just feels like the heat is just going to make it go and just fall out the sides. But there's only one way to find out. So that was a solid hour, okay? Once the oven preheats, it's going in there. But just for the minute, egg, milk, mixy, mixy, mix. Bingo. We're going to lightly brush that egg wash onto the tops. And the same with this one as well, why not? And there we go. Into the oven. What do you mean I've put a baking tray under the wire rack so that in case it spills and goes everywhere and creates a horrible mess in the oven that I'm slightly protected? I wouldn't do that. We'll see you in about 45 minutes when hopefully a skewer comes out clean. Folks, it has been 3 minutes and I'm panicking because you're really going to struggle to see this. I don't know if you can just about see the outline of it there. There's a little bit of dough that's just drooped off. It's sort of mushroomed, which is that sort of top that we're trying to get. And then a little bit is caught on the edge of the casing too. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is I am not opening that oven door. I've got to trust the process. So yeah, we'll see you in a bit. All right, folks, so this is the one that we were kind of like not expecting much cool stuff to happen. Look at that. I've already put a skewer in it a few times. Went down, I was like, oh, that's a bit of a hard bit there. Pushed through. And look, big cupcake case on it, Barry. It's come out dry ultimately, so I put some foil on it to give it another 10 minutes just in case. I did take the temperature of the oven down by about a third halfway through baking, and like this, I could almost lift it out of the oven. It's warmed, but just like, ah. Oh. All right, that has been 20 minutes later. So in that time, I did take that out of the case, and oh, that's so good. Skewer in here has come out clean. I'm not going to touch it. We've got a little bit of mess where some of it drooped over. In the bottom of the tray, look. I bet that tastes really nice, actually. So there's a bit of droopage there. Nowhere near as bad as it could have been. Well, here we are then, folks. That is it, all nice and done. Check this out. I am really happy for that, for my first ever attempt at one of these things. Oh. Baby, look at that. It's got that sort of like terrible, these puns are terrible, that texture still slightly warmed with that golden crust on it. Oh my, Oh, flavour town. All right, I'll settle with you there. The chocolate chips was a nice little cheeky addition, still a teeny bit warmed in there as well. It's toasty, warming, comforting, freshly baked, gorgeous fluffiness and that fruity punch running through there. Oh shiver me timbers. It's like a bready fruit explosion. It really makes me want to make brioche now and like loads more breads and doughs and stuff. Like just bake, Barry. Just bake. Oh my gosh. Do you know what? For my first time making a Tony, I'm really quite proud of myself, and I know it wasn't the best that is, but that's where the whole joy of my channel, in my own opinion, is that you guys can try it, and yours will hopefully look better than mine. If I got a slightly bigger mould, yeah, we might have made one bigger one, but we experimented with it, had some fun, and I want to know what your combination would be. So do let me know down below in the comments. Please be kind, it is my first time, but if you've got a dream combination of flavours that you'd like to see, like could you put cocoa powder in it and do like a chocolate orangey bread one? Oh my gosh. It's up to you guys to go crazy with it. If you do try it though, tag me in your photos on social media. I'd love to see your attempts. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it so other people can discover it. And of course, subscribe if you're not already. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I think it's only fair that I get my family's reaction when they get home later. And I'll see you next time. What do you call a man with no shins? Tony.
I'm a raw meat rapper, baby, ain't signed to no label, but I'm spreading out these lyrics like topping on a bagel. Cooking is the shizzle, so don't you get stressed, just get a hot pan and some chicken breast.
Chloe, what is my mum's first name and my stepdad's first name?
Anne and Tony.
Anne and Tony? Panettone.
No. Her secret name's Pam. Can I try it now?
Yes, mate. My mum's secret name isn't Pam.
Where's the chocolate?
Where's the chocolate? It's in there. There's dark chocolate chips. You're lucky it's even in there. If it wasn't for Twitter, it wouldn't be in there at all.
Yeah, thank you, Twitter. I like you.
The ultimate question is, Chloe, with all these leftovers, should I give the rest of my panettone to Anne and Tony?
No, keep it for us.
All right, cool. Bye, guys. Bye.